When people think of Pierce Brosnan, they think of a legendary actor. Whether it's singing in Mamma Mia or stealing the show as the legendary James Bond, this man can do it all. You would never suspect from his placid demeanor and charming smile that his life had a rough beginning. To get a better understanding of Pierce's life, I highly recommend watching the film in its entirety. He started his life on a downbeat note. May 16, 1953 was the birth date of the legendary actor in Ireland. His father abandoned him shortly after he came into this world. Because she felt she couldn't manage to raise him alone, his mother took him and went to London to seek employment when he was 4 years old. She decided not to bring her young kid along, instead leaving him with his grandparents. They passed away, unfortunately, and he ended up at a boarding home all by himself. Tragically, this was only the first in a string of unfortunate events that he would endure throughout his life. A reunion with his mom was in the works. For the next 7 years, they would never meet again. He and his mother relocated to London when he was 11 years old. It was all he knew anymore. He also gained a stepfather, William Carmichael, in addition to a new residence and educational institution. Brosnan was smitten after seeing the original James Bond film Goldfinger with his dad. Still, playing James Bond wasn't Brosnan's first concern. He was more concerned with navigating the challenges of being a teenager, perplexed and lost. At school, he was teased and picked on by the other boys, and he had trouble making friends. It made no difference whether it was about his height or his Irish heritage. Brosnan realized he had to figure out how to improve his situation since he had been miserable for some time. And his life took a dramatic turn when he discovered a new pastime, performing fire-eating acts for audiences in circuses and other public venues was something Brosnan did for a while. The London Drama Centre invited him because his performances were so excellent. His luck was in. The year 1975 saw Brosnan secure employment as an assistant stage manager. The Red Devil Battery Sign, a play by Tennessee Williams, was another production for which he applied. It worked out well for Brosnan because he was already up when the lead actor fell off. Conversely, Williams preferred to see Brosnan beforehand. The exact day the call came in is still fresh in his mind. He fled to his death after getting off the bus because it was moving at a snail's pace. Brosnan was rewarded with the lead part after delivering a stellar performance. The remainder of his life was thrust upon him when an unforeseen favorable event occurred. An enduring initial impression. Brosnan continued performing in plays even after he discovered that love at first sight is possible. From the moment they laid eyes on one another, they were completely smitten. To my dear Cassandra Harris. Unfortunately, she didn't initially feel the same way towards him. Harris recalled that her initial impression of him was that he was an odd-looking man with a short hairstyle. However, once they began to converse and spend additional time together, they realized they were perfect for each other. They could have an endless conversation about anything. Over time, Harris began to share his feelings for Brosnan. Although it's better late than never may be the opinion of some, a critical issue remained. After some time had passed, Harris's sentiments for Brosnan remained unchanged from when they initially met. It's unfortunate that they were all powerless to stop it. 3 significant persons were already a part of Harris's life, and their closeness was obvious. There are 2 children from his marriage. Her word had been kept, Brosnan knew. His care for her remained unwavering even as he prepared to wait. They were able to spend time together following her 1978 divorce, since they were already head over heels for one another. Their loved ones were curious about their future plans. Establishing a foundation, they fell madly in love with one another very fast. Finding a location to settle down and call home was the next logical step in their relationship. They bought a house in Wimbledon to make their love for each other official. They tied the knot in December 1980 after exchanging wedding vows. Although Brosnan had a troubled upbringing, he valued family. As a result, he became a foster parent to Christopher and Charlotte, who were children of Harris's ex-husband. They weren't his biological children, but he loved them nevertheless. Finally, Brosnan had his heart's desire and more. Unfortunately, the happy ending for the family wouldn't stay forever. They weren't afraid to go for broke. Because he got what he had lacked as a child, Brosnan was pleased. This didn't stop him from dreaming of a successful Hollywood career. To have a wife who had faith in him and was willing to stand by him was a blessing. Collaboratively, they devised a strategy to achieve their goal. In order to achieve their objectives, they were willing to do whatever it took, even if it meant being more reckless than they preferred. Borrowing money to renovate their home was something the Brosnans had never done before, but they still wanted to. Instead, plane tickets to Los Angeles were purchased with the funds. It turned out to be a well-thought-out strategy. His dream of being a Hollywood star has come true. Having the Brosnan family visit made America very happy, a dream realized for the actor when he landed the lead part in a TV show. Pierce Brosnan was the only one for whom the bulk of the Manions of Ireland was written. Many Irish people were ill and starved during the Irish famine, upon which the show was crafted. Without giving it any thought, Brosnan immediately said yes to the part. He distinctly recalls reminding himself, "I did it by God." Little did he know that this would be the beginning of something massive. According to him, "I'm going to grab it by the throat and fly with it." Brosnan was well liked by many. The more time Brosnan spent in America, the more famous he became there. Due of his significant role in the Manions of Ireland, he became widely known. After Brosnan shot to fame, he was cast in the hit TV series Remington Steele. The director soon changed his mind after Brosnan tried out for the role of the comedic companion. He handed Brosnan the center section after noticing how famous he was. He cast Brosnan in the lead role to launch the actor's career in Hollywood and pave the way for more substantial parts. But Brosnan was not universally well received, maintaining silence on location. With the exception of Pierce Brosnan's co-star Stephanie Zimbalist, everyone adored him. However, it is challenging to win over all individuals. Zimbalist revealed the romantic feelings between Remington Steele and Laura Holt. Their animosity and subsequent conflict were plain to see. Thankfully, their animosity toward one another did not hinder their productivity. The only time Zimbalist and Brosnan would exchange lines was while they were on set. They hardly spoke the words "good morning" unless they were joking. This made filming extremely awkward, but they were unconcerned. Immediately after receiving a reward at work, Brosnan decided to put his feud with Zimbalist on hold, a rendezvous that was intended to take place quite some time ago. When Brosnan was a little boy, his parents abandoned him. He hadn't seen his dad until he showed up on the Remington Steele set, even though he and his mom got back together. For Brosnan, the ending was uninteresting. This perception of his father had to be altered. In his mind, he saw a large, determined man. He described his father as having a twizzled chin, piercing eyes, silver hair pulled back, and an average height. Though he had hoped for a more intimate reunion, Brosnan was nevertheless looking forward to finally seeing his father. Nonetheless, his response was unlike anything most of us would have done. He never held his father responsible or felt remorse for his departure. However, there was a unique reason he was prepared to forgive. Family was Brosnan's first priority. When most of us first laid eyes on our dads, our reactions probably wouldn't have been quite like Brosnan's. Fathers are responsible for keeping their children safe, but it is ultimately up to them to do so. However, Brosnan's stepfather saved his dad in the end. Maybe this explains why Brosnan was an amazing father to Cassandra's children. After taking control, William Carmichael treated Brosnan like a son. Carmichael was like family to him. True to his name, Thomas Brosnan was his father. Over the whole of his father's illness, Brosnan remained by his side non-stop. The importance of Brosnan's family forced him to alter his original objectives. In his words, "I look up to Carmichael. Carmichael is a blessing and a bane in equal measure." The film industry was very lucrative for Pierce Brosnan. After years of hard effort, he was a star in several critically acclaimed films and television series. If you've seen The Game, the Song, his meteoric rise to fame began with rumors that he would replace James Bond. Remington Steele's popularity skyrocketed, leading to an unprecedented number of views. However, as a show gains more viewers, its prospects of being renewed for a second season improve. This is exactly how it transpired. Due to his agreement with Steele, he was unable to seek out other employment opportunities until the show's conclusion. Even though it was the ideal part, he was unable to seize it. His demeanor, however, remained unchanged. He could feel his family expanding. Just recently, Bryan Cranston got the part he had always wanted to play. His portrayal of Remington has afforded him opportunities which he has previously blown. On the other hand, Brosnan never allowed job issues to interfere with his family time, mostly because doing so would just exacerbate the situation. Brosnan was overjoyed to hear that Cassandra was expecting their first child. In 1983, when his son Sean was born, the family of 4 expanded to include 5 members. That this joy would be short-lived is a tragedy. Misfortune materialized. For Brosnan, the dream was becoming a reality. He had a large family and was successful in his career till 1987. Brosnan transformed a business trip to India into a family holiday due to his excessive workload. Tragically, this journey paved the way for the unfortunate event that occurred. Harris was unable to enjoy themselves, which was the whole purpose of their vacation. She suffered from chronic fatigue and awful stomach aches. All of these indicators remained when they returned home. This is the reason Harris visited a medical professional. Disappointingly, the doctor had no good news to share with the family. Everything in Harris's family was upended when he received the diagnosis. The disease has spread to her ovaries. After learning she had cancer, Brosnan's life took a turn for the worst. Pierce made an effort to savor his wife's remaining time, as he knew it wouldn't be long. Among these, they accomplished the purchase of their ideal Malibu property. They planned to visit the house a few days prior to Harris's treatment. Because of how exhausted and weak Brosnan felt, she was concerned that she would not be able to go. But his wife was resilient, and the room resounded with joy as she beheld their brand new house. They wasted little time settling into the home and making it uniquely theirs. Even after she left, Brosnan could sense her presence in their home. Her influence on his life was immense, and she encouraged him to pursue acting. Because of her, he improved greatly. Brosnan fell madly in love with Harris the moment he laid eyes on her, and remained so until the day she passed away. The confident man, doting father, and Hollywood superstar he is now owes a great deal to her. Cancer is a difficult disease to treat, yet she never told her spouse she was too exhausted to chat. Thankfully, he heeded the advice. Paying close attention to his wife landed him important roles in critically acclaimed films like The Live Wire and The Lawnmower Man. Despite his desire to quit acting, Brosnan was unable to do so. Because she was his #1 supporter, he adored her. He proclaimed, "She's ingrained in every fiber of my being forever. Each and every day she is by his side." Meeting someone so kind was a true gift. After 4 years of fighting, Harris finally lost a bout. From the moment of Harris's diagnosis to the conclusion of her treatment, Brosnan assisted her in the same manner he assisted his dad. Harris put up a valiant effort, but he came up short. After enduring 4 challenging years, Harris passed away in December 1991. Following the downfall of the Brosnan family, Pierce was appointed head of the household. He felt obligated to be there for his 3 children despite the fact that he had recently lost his soulmate. Loss profoundly alters one's perspective on life. After that, you simply feel, embrace, and love more profoundly, according to Pierce. Thinking about her was the only thing that kept Brosnan going when he reached this phase in his life, which was filled with sadness. He had never faced a decision as challenging as this one. Nothing in Brosnan's life had ever prepared him for a decision as difficult as the one he was about to make. Brosnan considered Christopher to be his own son, despite the fact that he was adopted. Everyone knows that Brosnan always prioritized his family. Like everyone else, Christopher struggled to cope with his mother's loss, but he resorted to drugs instead of discussing his feelings. Knowing how perilous this world was, Brosnan did his best to dissuade his child from entering it. The truth hit him like a ton of bricks when his best efforts fell short. Caring for his son was a way for him to justify his drug usage. Unexpectedly, he was faced with a decision he had never anticipated. Disciplined criticism. When it came to his son, Brosnan spared no effort. A horse can be led to water, but it cannot be forced to drink. People can be offered options, but they cannot be compelled to choose them. When he could take it no longer, Brosnan surrendered. Despite his sadness, he understood what to do. In the interest of his own emotional and physical well-being, Brosnan severed ties with Christopher. Reminding her to go was his responsibility. He's rooting for Christopher to end up helping him because it's his son. Succeed or perish. Charlotte, in contrast to her sibling, never scolded their father. Regrettably, she did not enjoy herself to the same extent as her brother. Tragic fate befell him once more. A void that will never be able to be filled was created in her family's lives when Harris passed away. They had to watch her pain on top of losing her. When Brosnan thought about going through it all over again with Charlotte, his daughter, he was devastated. Similar to her mother's death, she passed away at the age of 41 from cancer. Before her illness, Brosnan claims his daughter Charlotte was hilarious and wonderful. His heart sank when he witnessed another woman he cared about endure the same fate as her mother. He claimed that melancholy becomes an ingrained mental component after a while. Unfortunately, his misfortune was far from over. As with any prominent family, the Brosnan family felt the negative effects of the limelight the most acutely. Sean Brosnan shot to fame after his dad posted a video of him discussing his fears of self-healing on social media. The film industry was my home environment. The good news, meanwhile, emerges not long after. Sean explains that he not only attended treatment after his daughter was born, the good news is that he has gotten sober and is now pursuing a master's degree in psychology to better assist others when they are going through similar struggles. When I was at work, I shot a few videos, but I lost myself along the way. He adds in the video that he caused a lot of harm by going his own way. The actor Pierce Brosnan is really kind. After his wife passed away, he had to be strong for his family, even though his life would never be the same. When Bruce, Anne Brosd, and Officer Anne Bruce, 2 years after her passing, he landed a small role in Mrs. Doubtfire. The filmmakers had high hopes for the film before filming began, and Pierce Brosnan was originally cast to star. When asked to play Stu, Tim Allen first declined the director's request. As a result, numerous adjustments were necessitated. Brosnan was cast as Stu, the likable villain, when Tim declined the role. Would Brosnan be able to pull off a convincing impersonation? But the filmmakers couldn't, so they rewrote the script from the ground up. He was already overjoyed to be working with a personal favorite, but having a role in the film brought him much more joy. Working alongside the legendary actor Robin Williams was an incredible experience for him. On the set of Mrs. Maisel, they first crossed paths. Whenever Brosnan thought about Williams getting his makeup done, the image would pop into his head. Williams could only see Brosnan's hairy arms and Hawaiian shirt because he was turned away from him. Williams pivoted around to greet him in character, donning all of Mrs. Doubtfire's cosmetics. According to Brosnan, he thoroughly enjoyed filming the film and thought Robin was incredibly intelligent. As always, Sally was stunning. His worst fears were shattered as things suddenly improved. Its beauty was spellbinding. Thought Brosnan would only get one shot at playing James Bond before this. He was forced to decline the position as a result of this. The fact that it occurred twice was beneficial to both of us. In 1995, Brosnan immediately signed a 4-picture deal with GoldenEye after being offered the role of Agent 7 in a film. His debut as James Bond was in 1995's GoldenEye. He was enthralled by the role, and audiences adored him for it. The character benefited from his personal qualities, which he imparted to it. Also, all of them combined couldn't top the box office take of this James Bond film. A weight loss. Pierce Brosnan nailed the role of James Bond. His attractiveness and sophistication were perfect. That being said, he was underweight. While on a fit, Taylor realized that his body was different from that of his ancestors. Pierce was the shortest Bond actor in history. It appears that Brosnan made an effort to compensate to some extent, suggesting that he might have taken some action. Something else the Taylors learned about 7 years later, while he was filming his 4th Bond film, came to light. He became the heaviest 7th spy of all time in under 7 years. Strange provisions in his contract, however, may prevent him from being aware of these updates just yet. A little expense. James Bond is renowned for his impeccable taste in clothing, particularly his exquisitely cut tuxedos. Bruce Willis has recently landed the part he's been dreaming of. A peculiar wording in his contract seemed like a minor inconvenience compared to the opportunity it presented. To immediately conjure images of James Bond, the producers wanted Brosnan to wear a suit. If he appeared in other films wearing tuxedos, how would they pull that off? They had to do it if they wanted to stop Pierce Brosnan from playing James Bond in a tuxedo for so many films. He agreed to it in the contract he signed. Pierce Brosnan has said that he feels Cillian Murphy would be fantastic in the role of James Bond. Brosnan believed he would never be able to love again when his wife died. However, he was given a second chance. This is why he dedicated himself fully to his work and his family. When luck is on your side, though, things can fall into place. Not only did Brosnan fall in love in 1994, but he also landed a role that would transform his career. Brosnan used his interview with American journalist Keely Shea Smith as a compass. He said, "They hit it off immediately, and Smith helped Brosnan find closure following Harris's death. Smith bestowed upon him 2 further offspring, whom he christened Love and Peace. However, this was merely the start of their romantic tale, as he pushed himself to the limit." Brosnan practiced diligently to hone his acting chops throughout his career. His haste in taking chances in pursuit of his objective is well known. In 1996, the actor ventured into uncharted territory by launching a production company. Irish Dreamtime was founded by him and his best buddy, Beau St. Clair. Despite the amount of effort, time, and cooperation required, his gamble was successful. One film was produced by them prior to The Nephew. Although it performed adequately, it wasn't until the sequel that they received the recognition they deserved. The success of the Thomas Crown Affair reinforced their name in the business world. He looked wonderful in his role as a father. Anything that happens to a child will always remember. Most people who have a difficult upbringing had to pick one of 2 parenting styles. They may claim they will be unique, but in reality, they may end up looking a lot like their parents. The second option was Brosnan's to pick. Being a terrific dad and enjoying a large family were qualities he had demonstrated to his children. 2 children, Dylan and Paris, make up the Brosnan family, born between the years 1997 and 2001. Being a dad was just as important to Brosnan as his career as an actor, and he prioritized his family above all else. That required making a public pledge of loyalty to Smith. Distinctly different was she. Brosnan believed Smith was extraordinary the moment he laid eyes on her. They had been together for quite some time and had 2 children together, so he felt comfortable calling Smith his wife. At the chapel, they exchanged wedding vows in 2001.